Well, Australian-founded online car sales business LATAM Autos, which operates in South America, will list on the ASX next week. The company hopes to raise $18 million through the IPO. Sky News business reporter Harry Frost spoke with Executive Director and co-founder Tim Handley and asked him why the American market was so attractive.
Yeah, the Latin American region is actually the fastest growing internet population globally. It's an emerging market which, from an Australian investor point of view, sometimes gets overlooked, I suppose, given the proximity to Asia. However, it's a very attractive emerging market, and there's been some investment by Australian companies in the region. Car Sales has bought 30% of the equal number one site, auto classified site in Brazil, and also Seek is the owner of the number one employment site in Brazil and also in Mexico.
So how did the business get started, and what gave you the idea to look into this South American market?
So I've been based in Brazil for the past 5.5 years, and similar with my business partner and co-founder Gareth Bannon. And we were doing corporate advisory work for Australian companies and noticed the interest into Latin America, and particularly in the digital media space. So we focused on that and looked outside Brazil for opportunities, and discovered that there were some very attractive early stage online classifieds markets which we built our business around.
So how does your business model work?
So it's very similar to car sales in Australia, which most investors would be familiar with. We have three sources of revenues, typically from dealers, car dealers, individuals listing their cars on our websites, and also from advertising. So initially we'll be building our market share to make sure that we're the dominant number one classified site in each market. And given the early stage of those markets, there's some very good potential to make headway very quickly in those markets.
So how will the float work? You're hoping to raise $18 million. Will you use that money to make acquisitions?
So yeah, the $18 million is earmarked for an acquisition that we have in Mexico, which will make us the number one auto classified site in Mexico, and the remaining will be used for working capital, primarily marketing and personnel expenses.
For businesses, having a point of difference is important, particularly when the competitors are offering similar services. What will be the point of difference for your business in that South American market?
So our management team has experience, over 40 years experience combined actually, managing online classifieds businesses in Latin America, previously in the real estate and jobs verticals. So they have experience managing over 100 employees in 6 different Latin American countries. And a big competitive advantage of ours is the user experience which our websites provide. So we'll be having one common platform which will be used to roll out over each market, and consumers will notice a big difference from that perspective.
There's a number of tech companies listing on the ASX at the moment. Why is now the right time?
Yeah, I mean, I think Australian investors, when you look at the statistics, the most sophisticated online classifieds investors globally. I think there's around 14 listed online classified pure play companies in the world, of which 6 are in Australia and will be the 7th. And that's largely based off the success of REA Group, Seek and Car Sales, which have dominated the single vertical space in Australia and have now become international companies. And therefore, what we're taking is a proven business model in Australia and in many other developed markets, and we're applying it to an emerging market which has huge potential. Our target population of the 6 countries that we operate in is 222 million, so it's 10 times the size of Australia. And the migration from offline to online is still very embryonic, so a big chunk of advertising spend will move from the offline to the online sector, and we're positioned to take advantage of that.
Now, the company has seen a decline in revenue over the last couple of years. Will shareholders be able to expect a decent return on their investment?
Absolutely. If you look at the migration, I suppose, from lower class to middle class consumers over the past 10 years, that's been based off the back of very encouraging macro policies which have been put in place by those governments, which still are in place. I think the US recovery may have an impact on some of the currencies in Latin America as interest rates rise in the US. However, overall, the demographic characteristics of the region are very attractive, and we expect the policies of the governments in those regions to continue to remain on track.
Are you confident those favourable business conditions in South America will continue?
So we're forecasting our business to be cash flow positive by 2017, based on the current business plan. The decline in revenue from 2012 to 2013 was based largely on the depreciation of the Argentinian peso, which is a component of our business. Each of our other countries had very strong growth in the same period, and we're expecting that to continue over the next few years. Very strong growth.